everybody. Gary from Chubby Mermaid Brewing Company and
Josh Hoover.
Yeah.
First time we're on video together.
Yeah. So this is the second part of the video for So You're Opening a Brewery. Build out phase part 2.
Yeah, and so what we're going to go over in this video is just kind of an overview of how planning and build out are intertwined and kind of constantly evolving.
Yeah, as we mentioned in the last video, we had a build out phase. That build out phase 1 was a lot of planning that was still kind of fluid. We were making some decisions on the brewery equipment and purchasing and having that shipped and manufactured and shipped rather. That all starts with that big old, 10,000 foot view of the vision and the plan. That drives your whole process and the general direction of what you're trying to achieve in the business, the look of the business, what kind of location are you going to be in.
And so a lot of what Gary talked about is, all that logistics stuff and planning stuff, it kind of all ties into like, what kind of an organizational system do you have? I myself come from a very kind of a planny, type family. And then the business that I recently left, I was in property management in California. It's very structured and very planned and very thought out. And we were using a tool that Gary mentioned in his last video called Monday.com. And so I introduced him to that. Now, what we're using on our level is a very primitive version. You could pay for every level of membership that you want with Monday.com, as with any software or tool like that. Everything's in one place. Monday, you can use all the automations you want. You can use conditional logic. There's statuses. There's columns. There's rows. Everything. You can comment. You can tag your collaborators. You can add files, links. It's a very powerful tool. So that's we should be showing you some of that on the screen right now, kind of our organizational system.
Yeah, and that really helped with a lot of the planning too, and there's a lot of moving parts when you're in that late phase of planning, which we were and currently are in. That late phase of planning, of course, kind of moves into this where you're actually doing some of the build out stuff before we even get in the building. For instance, when we were doing the signage.
Sure.
Long story short, we got a couple of quotes for sign companies, and they were in the area of $10,000 to $12,000 for 2 signs. So Josh and I just skipped the middleman, and we went direct to the machine shop, and we had them make our signs for about $1,400. So you just got to do a lot of that legwork in the background. There's a lot of logistics involved, and just the equipment alone. The hiring an importer exporter was tedious work, and gladly that all worked out. As you can see, the equipment being unloaded right now. Our landlord is very gracious, and he allowed us to store all this equipment in another unit that's not technically occupied for rent, while our building, as you can see, all the construction going on is still going. Yeah, we definitely do a lot of things to save money while we're waiting, so we're doing a lot of things on our own. And we found some pretty good deals. We bought an RO water system through the Brewers Guild that we would have spent 10 grand on. We got it for what, 3?
Yeah, 3.
Yeah. So, and then we got that Thielman.
The Thielman tank, yeah, and I think we'll pop up a picture of that journey. That was, that was the first week that we landed here. Yeah. And my wife and I drove up, I don't know what it was, 5 hours north and 5 hours back south, and throw it in the back of your truck and just make it work.
Curveballs. Boy, did we get a few. The biggest one, of course, Hurricane Ian. It delayed our opening, various reasons, but actually a whole wall fell down during the hurricane as they were building the construction, the block construction. Nothing was really tied in yet, so these are, 24-foot walls of concrete block. They hadn't been poured down through the rebar yet, and they weren't tied in. So when that hurricane hit, it was basically a giant parachute, and down came a whole wall of our actual space. That's not the biggest problem. They had the wall back up in maybe a week or 2, but the bigger problem was we lost a lot of roofs in the area, and those people who would normally be putting our roof in were doing jobs that were for millionaires, billionaires, whatever, along the coast, putting their roofs on for a lot more money. We had, our landlord had to scramble and actually bring folks down from Pennsylvania, a roofing company, to do the roof on our building, which took additional time.
We actually got people from Pittsburgh, some real life Pittsburgh steel workers.
Yeah.
They were our Pittsburgh Steelers here in Southwest Florida. They were no joke. They're all business. They're here to do our job and our job only, which is nice because they're not hopping around from job to job, like a local contractor might do. So, but there's still people waiting for roofs in Southwest Florida. I mean, we just entered May, and this happened in September.
Yeah.
So people are going to take care of homes and current businesses first before a new construction building. Yeah, so the last update as far as the building goes, I think in Gary's last video was, it was just cinder block walls up. Maybe they had the rebar down the middle, but none of the concrete pours were done. And that's about when I arrived in Florida. So we're talking last couple of days of January, first week of February. We showed up and not much had happened. A couple days later, we met with the landlord, and he says, 4 weeks. Well, 4 weeks turns into 6 and 8 and 10. And so I'm feverishly checking on it every week. So we should have some of those photos coming up as I was driving by, whether it was once a week, once every 2 weeks, or what have you. So slowly but surely, the block level, rose, and then all of the neighboring units in our connected or collective building, you don't know the logic behind the builder, like why they're starting here and wrapping around and ending maybe with you. But slowly but surely, the neighbors were getting worked on. They started getting their roofing material, their insulation, their ceiling, interior beams, and then they started getting some of their interior steel. For apparently every unit has their own mezzanine.
Yeah, they have mezzanines.
Yeah. And so, but here we are still. I kept texting Gary. It was like every week, it's like, man, everyone has shade. And, by shade, I mean they have insulation, they've got roofing, and we're still in broad daylight. And then
that was frustrating. But come to find out, because our unit is the biggest unit, it needed a longer, more sturdy beam to go across the center to support the additional weight of our space.
Yeah. So finally, we start seeing, because we have the bigger space, we started seeing like all these pallets, or I did, of all these little steel pieces, and I thought, man, that must not be ours, that must be our neighbors. But then when our steel arrived, it was pretty obvious. It was like, hey, no, that is our beam.
Yeah.
So when our steel arrived, it actually has moved very quick, within 2 weeks, from the steel showing up to us having shade. And so we're moving along nicely now. So where we are today, I drove by today. I got off of work. A couple of days ago, they started priming the block, prime coat painting the block, and I'm hoping and anticipating that it's in anticipation of the glass storefronts coming soon. What would you call it? It's not a veneer, but it serves the purpose of a veneer. We're gonna have metal siding of sorts between the block and the finished look of the building.
Inside the brewery itself, the way it's going to look is, of course, we're going to keep the concrete floors. It's going to be natural concrete with like a wax. It's a concrete wax, and it's not like you have to wax the floor every day, but it sort of seals the concrete in. So that'll just be the natural look there. Open concept, all the way up to the ceiling with the mezzanine. Mezzanine will have a railing and staircase against the wall. Up in the mezzanine, it was actually much bigger than we thought it was going to be once we saw the beams.
Much bigger.
There's a lot of seating up there that, we thought maybe we could fit maybe a couch and a table and chairs, but oh no, there's probably room for 2 or 3 couches up there.
Yeah, I was initially in my mind, I thought the mezzanine would be comfortable for 4 people on a couple of little couches, and maybe 5 or 6 people on the bar that overlooks the ground floor. But it's huge. Maybe double that. So in terms of it being comfortable, you're not shoulder to shoulder with anyone up there. But yeah, you could almost double that capacity up there.
So the look of that mezzanine. So if you could picture more of a little feng shui kind of setting where the lighting is maybe a little lower up there. There's some couches, some comfy chairs. There's, like Josh said, there's a little like mini bar, not bar, but like a bar top that goes around the railing, so you could set bar stools on there and look down upon the brewery, or look down upon the bar, or the general seating area for the floor. The chairs themselves, I'm very much a person of comfort. I hate it when I go to a brewery and they're just metal chairs. There's no cushions. They're or the bar is too high or too low, or your knees hit the wall of the bar and you're not comfortably against the bar where you have to lean in and really reach for your beer. I'm very much aware that we're going to have that very comfortable. We've actually already ordered the bar chairs, one bar chair that we want to order for the rest of the bar. And would you say it's pretty comfortable?
Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah, we're gonna have wall benches on the bottom floor that go against the wall. We're gonna have cushions made for us. We'll build those ourselves and set the cushions on there with Velcro, and boom, Bob's your uncle. We got benching, and then put some tables there and chairs on the opposite side, and then a few high tops. And then the bar will have seating with the chairs that we like, the chair that we got. We're gonna do like a on the bar top itself. We're gonna do what do they call that? Water.
No, it's a river. I think it's like a river table bar.
We'll do a river table bar. We're probably gonna have LED lighting in there as well, embedded within the bar, and then epoxy the whole thing in. So that should be really nice. Covering the cooler itself, it's gonna be that barn board look. And then we'll have our brushed metal logo on there, Chubby Mermaid Brewing Company, and our taps. So one of the other things I dislike about breweries is when they put the taps super close together. I'm not a fan of that, so I'm going to spread them out a little bit. That gives us the option of being able to use a bigger tap handle and them not banging into each other. So we're going to be customizing that. We're not going to use a template sort of tap setup where they're just like right on top of each other. Bar, you're seeing now with the overlays of the general overlay of what it's going to look like. You can see the equipment. It's kind of lining the bottom left of the frame, and those are the fermenters, and then the brewing equipment, the bottom of the frame. And then there's that mini bar. I don't know what you want to call it. It's a mini seating area that has like a half bar that wraps around the brewery where you can sit in and just reach over and actually touch the stainless. It's going to be that close.
I think the best way to kind of put a term to it is like I always say like pony wall. It's a more modern, like a railing with a bar top, but pony wall I'm referencing, it's like a half height little bar wall.
Yep. So we'll have that seating there too, and so the brewery itself is going to be open. It's not going to be behind glass. It's not going to be locked. Like I said, I prefer that patrons don't reach in and touch the stainless, but it'll be there for them to reach out and touch. Yeah, that's kind of the general look. It's very simple. We'll have pendant lights hanging. We'll have pendant speakers hanging. We've already got all that sourced out. Again, part of the planning process. Yeah, we just haven't purchased those things yet because we're not going to spend money on things that I don't need right now, and it's very simple to set up. But we did buy the point of sale system. It's actually sitting in my house right now, all set up. Yeah. Josh and I have been, mostly Josh lately, have been working on setting up the flow of the menu and how to, how it works and how it looks, how it feels, trying to make it easy so when we get in and we plug and play, we're ready to roll.
Yeah, so, on the topic of the toast and the point of sale system and the user interface, I was telling Gary, I go, look, do we want to rely on whether it's, us or spouses or an employee someday, punching in like manually data, like, hey, you want an extra cup of barbecue sauce? That's, we have to rely on them to type in barbecue sauce and then type in the correct price for it. Or do we just want to program a button, where they just go add? Because people are reliably unreliable. So we want to make it as easy as possible, and that all takes back end work.
Yeah, and we've been doing that for, how long has that been set up in my house? Probably about 8 weeks. Yeah. And it's just, I've got Cat 5 cable laying on the ground in the house. It's just a big old test bed, Yeah. So we have our so Josh did this fantastic spreadsheet of cost comparisons of all the different, this guy's meticulous. See, he went through all the different toasts and bistro and arrived, all of them. He went through and listed all the annuals and monthlies and
transactions,
the transaction fees, and he put it on a spreadsheet and it spit out toast. Toast was the best.
Yeah, it was the most cost-effective option for us.
Yeah, and toast and frankly arrived and toast and bistro are all pretty much. The problem, they all operate pretty much the same way. Yeah. And you build your menu and all that on the back end on the web, and then it just pushes directly to the point of sale system. So you see the immediate changes. It's nice. So we've had 8 weeks to sort this out because we're also doing food. Can you imagine doing that while you're trying to open a brewery? It's chaos. So yes, being able to not open the brewery right away sucks. However, we've been able to save money, finding deals, spending time on the point of sale system, test batching our brews, converting his recipes into my brewing system, learning curve there, figured that out. Now we've got that solid. Yeah, there's always something going on. We are both still working.
Well, on that note, so since we got here in the first week of February, I texted you the other day, I think we've done 14 batches in February, March, April, in 3 months, which is just an astounding amount because we're still homebrewing. I mean, that's a lot. To touch more on organizational stuff, I mean, we both have a shared Google Calendar for, just
work
shared,
schedules.
Work tasks. We've got our work schedules on there, so we know who is where and when. So
who's brewing what?
If I brewed a beer on Saturday, and I say, hey, Gary, I just put it on the calendar, day 4 or 5, ramp up temperature. And Gary's 40, where the beer is here is 45 minutes from where I live now. I just text Gary, hey, by the way, just do that temperature change on that beer. So we're going to carry some of this organizational stuff into our future life in the brewery. And God bless cloud-based software.
I'm telling you, it's made things a lot easier for everybody. Including Monday and Beersmith. I know a lot of people don't like Beersmith. They're using other things online. I know it's been very good to us, and we'll just continue to use Beersmith.
Another thing that is pretty important to get established and get moving in the right direction is to see, you get a sense of like what is the local community offering out here. We didn't really have this much a concept of this, in Southern California. We had a thing called, it was just known as the Hop Highway. We did nothing with it, but there was a Highway 78 that goes east to west from the Pacific to inland, and it's just littered with breweries all up and down the highway. They should make an ale trail like you all have out here, and I think you had some up in the Northeast too. But that doesn't exist in San Diego, at least as far as I know. Out here there's I think he's a school teacher. And just for fun, he probably makes a few bucks. He gathers all these brewery and business owners and says, hey, for this amount of money, do you want to, participate in this? And this will buy you X amount of, booklets that you can sell to your customers. So you literally buy it for, let's just use random numbers. You buy every book for $10 and everyone retails it for $20, let's say. So you're making money on it too. And then you also get, there's little prizes. People get their little book, they get stamps, and you get so many stamps. And you get, this year it's a Teku glass, and the Teku glass has all the participating breweries printed on it. So now you're getting extended marketing with the glassware being out in the public, the booklets being out there.
The social media exposure.
Right. As soon as we signed up and went live with them, and we each announced it on each of our respective social medias, I don't know, we probably got 50 followers in like 48 hours, which that's pretty good for us. I mean, we're a startup.
It's a startup, and I think we're probably just punched over 600 on Insta.
Yeah, just about.
We're not really trying right now because we don't want to overload, too soon. We're trying to ramp that social media exposure gradually.
Right. So there's that exposure. We have people, and because I'm the one monitoring it, we have people hitting us up for jobs already. They want to port. They don't know us from a hole in the wall, but they're excited by the concept of another brewery coming to the area. What you're posting is getting people excited. People want to work for you. We had a woman from a Gulf Coast News message us and says she wants to interview us and give us free exposure. And another avenue of doing that is looking into your local Chamber of Commerce. Everyone that I've spoken to in my circle has talked about, hey, Chamber of Commerce, Chamber of Commerce, Chamber of Commerce. Back home in California, I mean, joining could be a $1,000 venture. Well, if you don't have $1,000 in the budget, like, what do? Luckily, here in Bonita Springs, Naples area, it's the Southwest Florida Inc. is what they're called, and they have a free level of membership. And then I think the next level up, their marketing plan is like $500, and then maybe the next one is $800. But the point is you can get, who knows what we're meeting with the person on Monday. That might just be enough exposure at a free level to just get your name out there.
And this is this kind of stuff we're constantly doing. It's like, even though we're not in there building out, which we're getting close.
Right.
there is so much moving parts in the background, and this is what I spoke to in the previous video when I introduced Josh. This turned into a behemoth of projects, and if I'm working 2 jobs to try to pay for it, there was no time to do it.
Yeah.
So then Josh was gracious enough to come out here and do this.
In talking with some of the local head brewers and owners that we've made relationships with, you might hear this a lot from brewers everywhere across America. You don't really ever get to brew what you want to brew. You don't get to brew that passion, project beer, and you're going to be forced to brew something that the locals want. Well, our locals come from the Midwest, Northeast, and they just want something that's like their Yingling. And so when they get dragged to a brewery by whatever spouse or friend or whatever, they just want what they know. And a lot of people know their Irish red ales, and their red, amber lagers.
Yeah. And
so we were told, you gotta have a red ale. We made it super clear, super light. I think this came in the 5% range, like 5.5% range. And we ultimately decided we didn't want an amber lager, we wanted a red ale. And so this is it. This is the Snowbird, as we call it. Oh no, the Snowbird Special.
No, Snowbird Especial.
Oh, Especial, that's right. The Snowbird Especial. And nothing delights me more than seeing some 72-year-old, whatever, man or woman come up and ask for the Snowbird Especial. In my mind, it's hilarious to me. It's comical.
Yeah, we're having a little fun with it.
Yeah. But so, I mean, we did not plan to have a red ale. So, you got to go to your list of 20 beers and say, okay, well, what do we want to cut? Because we're probably going to have this on year round.
Yeah. When you're just visiting breweries, you're not thinking about the business side of it. But when you start going back and you like, okay, now I'm counting how many people are walking through the door, how many people left, how many people are in the room, what are they ordering, talk to the bartender. What's the problem? Like, what do you find to be the problem? What is the best moving beer? What is one that people ask for that you don't have, i.e. the red ale? And that's the kind of feedback you get. And you take these numbers back with you. Josh will say he'll be at a brewery. I can't remember the last one you were at. And I'm like, how many people are there?
Oh, right.
And he texts me and I goes, it's 16 just walked through the door in the last 20 minutes and only 8 left. So, it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon on a Wednesday or whatever. So, we use those numbers and I use those we both do to sort of kind of dictate what our budget is going to look like.
Right.
And then also kind of apply what he just said about the red ale. Oh shit, we got to brew a red ale. And so we, like he said, reached out to our home brewing friends who have been doing this for years, our little think tank, and which we have used with the Brew Tubers, and the glass here is another homebrew online club, and a lot of the beers that we're going to introduce may have been inspired or partly inspired by other brewers in that club and the lessons learned. So we really love our homebrew clubs. So what do you think, Josh?
I think it's pretty good. There's a lot of information here, and hopefully everyone found it useful.
Yeah, the next video definitely will be inside building. There will be some raw kind of footage things going up where you're just seeing us in there just, putting up bar, framing and plumbing and setting fermenters in place. That's our next step. Well, we hope you found this useful, this information useful. And I know we kind of rambled on, but there is so many moving parts. So we're trying to get a lot of that out there for you. If you're thinking about opening a brewery at some point in your life, you can reference this video and go, yes, I got to think about all of that stuff too. There is a lot to think about. And that's why we're doing the video. We're kind of trying to get this journey
documented
somehow. Yeah, it's for me, it's been a long time in the making mentally, and Josh is, I don't want to speak for you, but
no, I mean, it's something that I think a lot of homebrewers dream of, and this is an opportunity to make it a reality. So I mean, you and I, heck, we've been talking since April or May of last year. So I mean, mentally I've been involved in it for a year, and then fully committed since about August.
And a year before that is when I started figuring out how I was going to do it, the general overlay of it. Where was I going to get the equipment? What kind of equipment was I going to use? So, yeah.
Yeah, so I think the next video, yeah, we'll definitely have some footage of the internal construction, or at least the beginning phase of that, and you know, all of our successes and possible failures, and
Yeah, stumblings.
yeah. So anyhow, we'll close this one out.
All right.
Well, Gary's done, but
Oh,
cheers.
I
Thanks for
enjoyed
watching, and we'll see you on the next one.
All right, cheers.